The Rams have made a sneaky good signing this offseason. We are talking about the linebacker position, who is being brought in. Puka Nacua, some updates on his injury, as well as some social media talk going on about Puka Nacua and who will make this Rams roster on the back end, who's on the roster bubble, kind of fighting for a spot this preseason. All of that and more, all on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and before we get too far into today's video, I want to ask you guys a favor. If you guys are not currently subscribed to the channel, please do me a favor and consider pressing that subscribe button. Right now, we're sitting at about 60% of you guys who are not currently subscribed, but you're watching the videos. If you come back for more, you like what you see, you want more daily Rams content, consider pressing that subscribe button before you go from today's video. Thank you to all those who are currently subscribed, trying to continue to grow the channel. If you want to be a part of that, press that subscribe button so you don't miss that daily Rams content, especially some live streams coming up once the season is in full swing. All right. Quite a bit to discuss on today's episode. I'm going to try to run through all this as quick as possible. The Rams will be facing off against the Chiefs on Saturday. Yes, football is back. We're talking NFL preseason here. A couple of things to note. Not too many starters going to play in this game for either team. That's pretty obvious, right? This game will be on Saturday, 1 p.m. PST. You should be able to watch on CBS LA if you're in the LA area. If not, probably like NFL Plus. If you have that, you can listen to the radio as well in LA, ESPN LA, 710 radio. Check out the Rams game. I know it's not the same as peak football season, but football is back. You'll see Sean McVay on the sideline. You'll be able to see some of these players on the sidelines rooting for their teammates who are trying to make the roster. Obviously, we're still going to be competitive football being played out there because all these guys that are playing are fighting for their NFL careers, honestly. We'll talk about who's going to be playing in that game in a second, but just to know, both coaches kind of come out and said this. Vanilla game planning for both. Don't forget, both of these teams will meet again in Week 13, I think it is. Kansas City, Thursday Night Football versus the LA Rams. We know that's happening Week 13, so both these teams are going to keep their secrets tight to the vest as much as they can in this one. Andy Reid already confirmed that Kansas City will run a highly vanilla scheme using only base plays. He noted that Sean McVay's Rams likely won't play their main starters, meaning fans shouldn't expect complex game plans or heavy play schemes from either side. So we know that coming from both sides, right? Whether it's Chiefs or the Rams. Specifically, in particular, we know coming back from his ACL injury, Patrick Mahomes, he will be sidelined, but they're going to have a pretty good experienced quarterback playing for the Kansas City Chiefs in Justin Fields. Say what you want about Justin Fields, but he will be backing up Mahomes this offseason. He's going to be under Andy Reid coming up this offseason. He could actually have some nice plays out there. Don't be too concerned if the Rams defense is getting sliced and diced, especially in the run game from Justin Fields. I would anticipate something like that because Fields is a pretty good NFL player. He just hasn't put it all together yet, but being in a place like Kansas City might help him put some things together. So don't be surprised if you see some big plays from Justin Fields in this game. The Rams will obviously sit Matthew Stafford, so that leaves Stetson Bennett and their rookie Ty Simpson to be the quarterbacks for this football game. And we can take a look at the three here. It's big time, right, for these two quarterbacks behind Matthew Stafford. When we're talking about Stetson Bennett, when we're talking about Ty Simpson, we don't really know who the backup quarterback's going to be. It's looking like Stetson Bennett will be the quarterback, but it is kind of a big deal for Stetson Bennett to impress this Rams team. He needs to be consistent in order to prove that, hey, I'm the backup quarterback. I'm the guy you got to keep on the roster. Stetson Bennett will start Saturday's preseason game against the Chiefs. He and Ty Simpson will both play in the game. Offensive coordinator Nathan Schillhouse will also call the plays. Sean McVay will still serve as the head coach, but giving Nathan Schillhouse a little bit of opportunity to call some plays in this preseason game. So going to be excited to see what he can kind of cook up. Vanilla scheme most likely, but still want to see the type of plays he's calling at what times of the game. Maybe mixing them some nice plays here and there to try to impress obviously the fans and obviously the rest of the coaching staff. But honing in on the Stetson Bennett conversation, right? We're talking about fringe roster players now, right? There's guys who might not make this roster, and as far as we know, it feels like Stetson Bennett and Ty Simpson will likely make this roster. One note I want to make is the NFL has changed some rules, and they're going to allow a third quarterback to always be on the roster. Not counting against the 52-man roster, basically our 53-man rosters. You could basically say the Rams have 53, every NFL team has 53 roster spots when it comes down to game days specifically, because you can always carry a third quarterback without it counting against your full roster. So that's a nice rule change the NFL had made in recent years. So I don't think the Rams will go into the season without having that third emergency quarterback on duty just kind of at all times. I don't think any team will ever do that moving forward. But generally speaking, right, if Stetson Bennett comes in his preseason and he doesn't impress, he doesn't show that he can beat out Ty Simpson for the quarterback 2 position, he doesn't show that he could be consistent on the field, that could lead to, okay, cool, we'll have Ty Simpson, if he shows it in preseason, be the backup quarterback. Stetson Bennett, I think your time is done. That could potentially be the case for Stetson Bennett. I'm not saying that he thinks that way. I'm not saying the Rams are really thinking that way, but if he comes out and he doesn't play well, I mean, the Rams are probably going to say, dude, we gave you a whole bunch of time, a whole bunch of chances to try to figure this out, gave you a golden opportunity to be our backup quarterback, and you're not proving us to be right in that decision. That would obviously be big time for Stetson Bennett in his career. So a little bit of pressure on Stetson Bennett to perform against the Kansas City Chiefs backups, but at the same time, it's a pretty wide open opportunity for him to just take the job that is essentially being handed to him in this situation. Who knows? Maybe Ty Simpson says, I'm going to go ahead and snatch that job instead. That could potentially happen as well. That would make a lot of Rams fans happy, make them feel comfortable about the fact that the Rams took the quarterback with the 13th pick overall in this year's draft. We'll wait and see what happens. That's going to be an interesting dynamic for Rams fans to keep an eye on, that roster bubble for Stetson Bennett generally, but just to kind of see the battle. You know Ty Simpson is not going to get cut from this roster. That's not happening with the first round, 13th pick in the draft. He's not getting released, but just going to be interesting to see that battle go on at the quarterback position. So we'll wait and see on that. Speaking of who will make this roster, who might not make this roster, Sean Dolak is a name that's going to be talked about in terms of a name that could potentially not make this Rams 53-man roster. A lot of people love him. I know my partner Joshua Feinhersh actually loves Sean Dolak in terms of being a good linebacker piece for this Los Angeles Rams team. But look, he had an injury last year. We knew that happened. He didn't play as much as we kind of wanted him to. Ahead of Saturday's preseason opener, by the way, the Rams actually added someone to the roster. They added depth at the inside linebacker as they announced they signed Monty Rice to the 90-man roster. Let me go ahead and pull a picture up of Monty Rice while we talk about him. So this is actually super important for the Sean Dolak fans out there who are hoping Sean Dolak could actually be that third kind of linebacker for you on this roster. Monty Rice is a 27-year-old former third-round pick by the Tennessee Titans in 2021, coming out of the University of Georgia, a very good defensive school that kind of produces a lot of good defensive players in the NFL. Spent just 3 years with Tennessee before being waived at the end of 2023. The Saints claimed him, but then obviously cut him in later that summer. Since then, he bounced around the NFL. He was playing with the Falcons a bit, playing with the Patriots a bit, especially on their practice squads in 2024. Was on the Lions practice squad last year. Drafted by the Louisville Kings in the UFL, drafted this year, but released shortly thereafter before playing a single game. So obviously, look, this could be a sleeper good pickup because a former third-round pick could find his juice with a team like the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are one of those teams that just seems to be able to find names that maybe others don't really value as much, and the Rams find them, put them in their system, and say, this is where you got to improve, and that player ends up improving, right? It kind of feels like the Dodgers in a sense at times, right? The Rams can go out and just find these players, and maybe no one expected them to be that good, and all of a sudden they're pretty good. So that could be the case for Monty Rice. But the reason why I also think this is a sleeper move, because I talked about this in the past, sleeper move for Monty Rice, sleeper move for, it was a sleeper move for, I'm forgetting who I said it about, Landman, Nate Landman, the shark, or the peanut Landman. I don't know why I'm mixing up these nicknames all of a sudden, but Nate Landman, I said he was a sleeper pickup. People made fun of me and said, Josh, you're crazy, he's a back-end roster move. Well, this is a sleeper in that sense. Sleeper in the way of, I like that the Rams are addressing the linebacker position. I'm not saying Sean Dolak can't do the job, but I needed the Rams to add some more depth at linebacker. This makes some competition there, makes Sean Dolak have to be on his toes, make Sean Dolak have to work to try to make this roster. This guy's going to come in hungry, trying to make the most of his NFL opportunity at 27 years of age. How many more opportunities is he going to get? That's the question for Monty Rice. So obviously we know, look, 131 total tackles in his career. That sounds pretty solid, but just 3 tackles in the last 2 years combined. So Monty Rice is going to fight for a job, but I like it as a sleeper move in the sense of, I don't think he might not make the roster, but I think he's going to force these guys to be on their toes, force Sean Dolak and company to compete for a roster spot. And Sean Dolak doesn't just have one guy to compete with. Sean Dolak, if you're looking at making a roster spot, you're hoping that you can play a little bit of special teams to prove yourself. Well, they also signed a player out of Detroit. This is going to be Grant Stewart. I'm forgetting his first name, actually, unfortunately. Stewart, he's 27 years of age. Most recently played for the Lions, making 19 total tackles while playing in all 17 regular season games last season. He was also a standout on special teams for Detroit, posting a career best 83.0 special teams grade according to Pro Football Focus. Not that the grades really matter, but it's important to note that Stewart is coming out. He's obviously a hungry special teamer type of player trying to make the roster. Special teams captain, special teams ace for Detroit, and so that is a key. Will Sean Dolak be able to overcome these two guys to make the roster for the Los Angeles Rams? It's up to him. It really is up to Sean Dolak to go out and impress and make sure his name is known and his presence is felt out there when he's on defense for the Los Angeles Rams. Prior to that, by the way, before he played in Detroit, Stewart spent 3 seasons with the Colts, producing 58 total tackles while starting in 51 of 53 regular season games. Originally entered the NFL as a 7th-round pick. So if you're a Sean Dolak undrafted free agent, you're thinking you're competing against a 7th-round pick and a former 3rd-round pick. That is some talent there. You want to go ahead and impress and show that, hey, I am better than these players. It's your job to go out and make that happen. Talking to you, Sean Dolak, really hoping that he does make it happen because I'm rooting for him myself. I know a lot of you guys are rooting for him too, but just kind of noting there that he's also going to be on that roster bubble because of some additions the Rams have made at the linebacker position. Another name that's on the roster bubble, before we get into some Puka Nacua news, Xavier Smith. Honestly, it's not necessarily that the Rams have a bunch of receiver competition, which obviously they do with a new 6th-round pick this year, but it's mostly because of this moment here. I think Xavier Smith does have to acknowledge that this was not a beautiful point in his career. It's actually a low light in his career, a low light for the Rams, a low light for the Rams season. Potentially, you can argue that this lost the Rams an opportunity to win a Super Bowl last year and gave their division rivals a golden opportunity to go out and win a Super Bowl, which they capitalized on and won. This was such a tough moment to see as Rams fans, tough moment for Xavier Smith in his career, and with that being said, I think it's going to be a tough moment for everybody looking at Xavier Smith being on this roster. I think he has to impress this offseason, this preseason, I should say, to go ahead and say, hey, look, I know I made a mistake in the past. I've moved past it. I could be a better player. Trust me here moving forward. But because of this moment, I think it kind of puts Xavier Smith in a situation where if we can't trust you on punt returns, where are we going to trust you anywhere else in this field? We don't think you're going to get that much time and snaps at the slot. As a slot receiver, we'll give you those opportunities preseason. What can you show us that you have in the tank this preseason? We'll have to wait and see what Xavier Smith does with his opportunities, but he is definitely a fringe player as well, potentially not going to make this roster. All right, last but not least, I've held you guys here long enough. Puka Nacua, he apparently was not spotted at practice today. This is per Sarah Barshop, who constantly reports for the Los Angeles Rams, or for ESPN about the Los Angeles Rams and other teams, of course. But that is not necessarily good news. I think it is a psoas injury, a psoas muscle. It's basically like a lower back kind of hit groin leg area. Well, the way I read it, when I read about it, it said that it was connecting the spine to the kind of pelvic muscle, the hip bone, whatever you want to call it. So I've never had issues with my psoas as far as I know. I don't even know what a psoas muscle is, obviously. But it sounds like Puka Nacua is dealing with a little bit of injury, kind of nagging him a little bit. It does sound like Puka Nacua is expected to resume practicing next week after dealing with that psoas core groin soreness kind of injury. So it seems like he should be okay. Just noting that he is dealing with the injury, was not spotted at practice today, working off to the side, it looks like, rather than working with the team. And then if you guys have been on social media seeing anything about Puka Nacua, well, here is some news on Puka. That the reason why he's being kind of trending and being talked about, nothing too crazy. A couple weeks ago, he was at a Michael Rubin all-white party, or not all-white party, that is a crazy way to describe that. Michael Rubin's white party, which is basically like everyone wears white. Sorry for saying that, all-white party. But literally Puka's talking to, I think it was Logan Paul on his podcast, and he essentially was saying, look, there was very, very clear, clean glass. I couldn't really see it. I ran into it. My face was bleeding. Logan Paul was at the party, and he was saying, I saw you in the corner, bleeding from your head. Figured you walked into it. And actually, Logan Paul says, I actually assumed you walked into it because when I looked at the window pane that you're talking about, I couldn't even see it. It was so clear. So Puka also said that 3 other people supposedly that night ran into the same glass pane. So don't worry about Puka. It's not necessarily he's doing some crazy stuff in the off season. He's not necessarily getting in trouble in the off season. It sounds crazy. It sounds ridiculous. It honestly sounds worse than it really is. Sounds like he had an accident, walked into a glass window pane. It happened. Other people ran into it as well. Bad off season in general for Puka Nacua. We're kind of pending with those legal battles to see if he's going to deal with any suspension as well from the NFL. We're going to wait and see and all that, but shout out to Puka Nacua. He should be all right. So far, since all the legal issues, I don't think he's really had much talk in the news aside from him walking into a glass pane, which is unfortunate, but not too big of a deal. So that is the updates for today. A lot to discuss, I know. I'm sure Joshua Feiners will talk more about the preseason matchup versus the Kansas City Chiefs tomorrow. That's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. Remember to like this video, comment, and subscribe. If you're not subscribed already, please, if you stayed this whole video, you might as well subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more daily Rams content. That's going to do it for me. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I'm out.